Mahesh Joshi, fund manager at Angel Broking, joins in with his perspective too. Mahesh, good to have you in the show. Let's talk about the currency move and its impact on IT, and does that just add to the reason for staying away for a bit at least?
Well, yes, again, I think my take has been that the IT index will probably underperform for a period of time. And all the factors probably moving against it even at this point of time. So the currency headwinds, I think, largely just stated that Q4 numbers will have that hit on the EBIT and the EBITDA margins for IT companies. Add that up with how the discretionary spending props up for the end client. I think that is going to be extremely critical and crucial. If any clients are probably postponing or delaying their projects in any manner or sorts, I think that does have an impact in terms of how the revenue recognition and execution going forward takes place. Third, I think Q1, Q2 will also be typical quarters when you will probably see wage hikes and salary hikes taking place. So largely I think it's going to be a mix in terms of how management commentary is going to play out for IT companies. The environment is still a little bit murky as far as earnings are concerned, and earnings are going to remain sticky in my opinion. So as I've always maintained, I think in a staggered way or wait for better entry points, I think the better way of approaching stocks would be to actually wait for Q4 results just around the corner, wait for management commentaries in terms of the future outlook, both in terms of digitalization of businesses that they are embarking upon and the commentary related to discretionary spending on the client side. So largely I think wait for numbers to come through. You will get better levels for IT companies to probably get a better entry point.
That is not a large crack, but the components of the bank Nifty, 1% here, 2% there. Kotak Mahindra Bank has taken a U-turn, 1% off of the bank Nifty. I think it's index. There's some profit booking in the bank Nifty, which is clearly visible because it's coming on strong volumes as well. It's not a scary number. It's just that, when you see a reversal, we just have to mark it. We are gliding and sliding again towards the days low, at least for Kotak Mahindra Bank, 872. But one stock which is trading at the highest point of the day, even though it's termed as one of the most expensive retail stocks in the world now, I'm talking about brick and mortar retails, is DMart. And how much it has added in terms of market cap, what about volume, price action, news flow, for all that and much more. Let's go to Vivek. He's standing, okay, Pranay is standing by because that is our stock of the day.
Well, clearly the 11-12% rally and no stopping even at that. So the market cap that you were talking about has surpassed 46,000 crore rupees, and the volumes that you're seeing today are the second highest after the listing day. Also, that seems to be the only reason. Because of low liquidity, the stock continues to rise. Absolutely, the fundamentals remain strong. Nothing has changed since listing. So what's good to highlight over here is that its same-store sales growth has been at 20% versus the industry other best performers at about 10 to 12% for 9 months of this fiscal. So that shows you the traction that it has maintained. And even over the next say 3 years, if you go by all the analyst expectations, 20% is the least expected CAGR revenue growth, where operating margins are expected to sustain at 8%. Actually this year they managed to improve it from 7.8 to 8.9, but even on a conservative basis they expect that these margins will be sustained. Also, after this IPO with the equity infusion, you will see the gearing dropping down to about 0.5x from 0.8, so that makes it even stronger balance sheet wise. And given the company's growth expansion or network widening of footprint which is expected, it will require just 650 crores, which is going to be easily achievable. So post all of this, you're seeing a big thumbs up, and what has happened in today's session is that its market cap has now exceeded major Nifty names such as Dr. Reddy's, Aurobindo Pharma, as well as Tech Mahindra, and from the other mid-cap names, BHEL, Titan, amongst many others, not to mention BOB and many other PSUs. In fact, even Ivol's Housing, it has managed to surpass in today's session.
DMart, thanks very much, Pranay. Good spot, and really, an effortless one, because you have Avenue Supermarts being the top gainer in this session. Nearly 12% higher, 741. Were we saying on the day of the listing 600, 650 was expensive enough? But the market has its own logic.
Well, expensive has become more expensive.
Super expensive.
There is a supply-demand mismatch. There is very little free float in the market. Large part of the ownership is still with the promoter. What got public is locked in terms of anchor investor, and also because of long-term institutional investors. If you're betting on a consumption revival, you have to buy some of these retailers. My hunch is is that, you know, some of these stores, at least like DMart, Shoppers Stop, they also import a lot of you know, baskets and belts from China. That's the category where you may see a huge uptick, largely because of the currency factor. But yeah, I mean, whatever may be the argument here, to buy a stock at a P multiple of 100, it's just very difficult to justify it. But if you feel that you are getting a well-run business and you want to own it for next 3 or 5 years, maybe it's idea. My limited point is that if you buy a stock at a P multiple of 100 plus, how good the business is, considering that retail is a very ordinary business, you can value retail business both locally and globally, you are not going to make money.
Somebody is seriously buying today, Nikunj. I mean, look, as you were just, you know, rushing through your comments and highlighting your points of interest in the stock. I mean, 750, 12.5% higher, nearly 13%.
You know, sometimes it's the force and it's the market emotion which really defeats all fundamental argument and fundamental basis. Now, that's the way we've looked at valuing a retail company, because there are international benchmarks in which how can you value a retail business. The growth numbers plus minus 4 or 5% here or there, the business model is great, but again, my only reservation with this fantastic company is that price is what you pay, value is what you get. Is there value in DMart at 750? I think there is no point in even having that discussion, because before I start the discussion, we all pretty much know the answers. Mayuresh, who is buying DMart and why is anybody buying DMart?
I'm not too sure, but again, I think the core dynamics, as you rightly pointed out, Nikunj, revenue growth over 12 to 16 for those 4 financial years have been in excess of 40%. The profit has grown at a compounded rate of 52%. And I have a simple dynamics done between DMart, Big Bazaar, Hypercity and Spencer's. The kind of rent DMart pays is 0.2%. Big Bazaar pays 8.8%. Hypercity and Spencer equally pay that higher rent, around 5.5 and 5%. You look at employee expenses for DMart, it's around 1.2%. For Big Bazaar, it's close to 5%. For Hypercity and Spencer, it's equally higher at 7.5% and 7% respectively. So what it does is DMart is effectively able to use its inventory turnover at 12.8 times as for the FY16 numbers that it had published, and what it generates per square feet of its same sales store growth is around 29,000 odd rupees compared to a Big Bazaar which is almost 10,000 odd rupees. So that significant difference is probably because of the inventory turns that you're probably seeing. The asset turns are probably much lower with leverage coming down, and even if one assumes that profit growth can probably move higher in the trajectory of 50% that it has witnessed, valuations still remain extremely expensive for this stock. So yes, I think the argument probably moves in favor in terms of the core dynamics that DMart is posting compared to all its peers, as I've discussed, but largely I think valuations are not supportive for DMart at this point of time. So investors holding on to stock should definitely hold on. Friend investors probably should wait for significant declines. Whether that will come, I don't know. I think time will tell whether those declines will actually come through for the stock.
And Yatin and Darshan, they both are ready. Darshan, Yatin, who is buying DMart?
That is the question to be asked, but if you look at the FI desk, most of them were worried because no allocation was given in the IPO, and probably that unmet demand is coming into the marketplace. And if you look at the float also of DMart, the market capitalization today is in excess of 45,000 crores, and the IPO was for 1,800 crores. So if you look at the float to market cap, it's extremely low, below 5%. And if you look at the delivery volumes also yesterday, today also probably it will be quite low. So it's simply a trading pop which is coming in probably on low delivery volumes. But in terms of Nikun, dealer recommendations, Max Financial is something wherein dealers are expecting some block deals to happen next week, and ahead of the block deals, the stock is giving up some gains that it made on an intraday basis. So watch out for Max on the back of block deal, which is likely next week. Idea Cellular, and after the weakness that we saw post the Idea Vodafone deal, today finally some buying is emerging in trade, and dealers on the basis of FNO trends are recommending a BTST on Idea Cellular. And Dish TV is another one wherein a lot of FI selling is happening. The stock almost broke that 100 rupee mark, and right now at 99 rupees. So on that basis also dealers are expecting some weakness to come in for Dish TV.
Okay, thanks Yatin for that. Darshan, come to you. What is it that you're hearing from your sources?
See, Tanveer, this time around, at least in today's dialogue with the dealing rooms, there was a cautious tone, no doubt. They're saying that some of the HNIs, some of the funds which were very active, they have slowly started shedding positions. So and they have started shedding positions in frontline counters like Reliance and L&T, which have been marked outperformers over the past few days. So they believe that there is a little bit of cautious view at this point of time. They believe that the market has pretty much run up much faster than what the street was anticipating. So there is a shedding of open interest. It's Fridays, and again speculators become very happy when Fridays come, and they again start trading in Bharat Financial, and they expect the deal to come anytime soon. So again Friday we are seeing Bharat Financial again being up almost 3%. So on the hope of the deal going through, dealers indicated some of the speculators and some of the HNIs have taken positions in Bharat Financial. And finally IDFC is something that dealers are indicated that that every decline there is continuous HNI accumulation that is happening.
All right, let's get in strategies. Thanks, Darshan. Thanks very much for giving us those insights. Let's get in strategies at close. Dr. Narayan, I'll start off with you. What is it that you'd recommend?
Well, an STBT in Sun Pharma is what I would recommend. It's closing week, it's been weak the whole day, there's been some news, and I think, holders, players, everybody has turned jittery once again, and the stocks woes never seem to end. So maybe if it breaks here, it's on a touch and go level. If it breaks, then we don't have support till 620, 625. That's a sizable drop from current levels. So chancing my arm with a short at the current level, 666 to 668, a stop loss of about 8 rupees from entry.
Okay. Pritesh, what is there on your list? BTST or STBT?
I would go for a positional short in this TV. Now see, if you go back in time, in the first week of Feb, the stock made a low of 82. Thereafter, it completed 270 degree on the upside and made a high of 111. And thereafter, it has been all downhill. Now the stock found it difficult to sustain over the same level. And what we have seen is the stock has given a break below the GAN number of 101. I believe that there is a sharp decline coming in next couple of days. So I think the target is placed around 94 and the stop should be around 103.
Siddharth, what about your strategy at close?
We are in an uptrend, and we should utilize this dip to go long, at least in stocks which have shown upward trend, and BHEL is one of that stock. So we are seeing last 3 trading sessions significantly upside. I mean to say upside move has started, and there's a breakout which took place around 170, 171. Volumes were very high when stock was going up. Today volumes are far lesser than yesterday. Yesterday was a great day for BHEL. There is no formation of short positions. In fact, there is slight unwinding. This is a typical sign of a stock which is in a strong uptrend and in a weak market corrects a bit. And when you talk about BHEL buying on dips, these are the occasions to buy on dips. So I would suggest even at current levels of 175, it's a long. 192 is my target price. Now stop loss can be fixed around say 167, 168. Disclosure that I have this stock in my personal portfolio.
Is there money to be made in buying any of the out of money options of that? Maybe a 9,000 put or a 9,500 call?
I won't go till 9,500. We are right now at 9,200. And as I was mentioning in beginning of the show that call IVs have substantially reduced, and even if today's correction of say less than 1%, even if IVs would have increased, these IVs are not more than 10.5% for call, and you still have a lot of time left for expiry. Today is 7th of April, 27th of April is expiry, 20 days to go. Instead of looking for deep out of money 9,500, if you're bullish, which I feel, which I am, 9,300 call option I would suggest to go long in. Buy today or probably Monday morning looking at what's happening on weekend.
Okay, back above 9,200. So the good news is that bulls have managed to, the bulls have failed. The bulls have failed to really produce a serious downside follow through after that intraday dip. The bad news here is that the recovery, unlike yesterday, today is not that powerful, even though globally a lot of markets are on the mend. A lot of markets have recovered and the market breadth today was slightly dented. Advances are less, decliners are more. CK, what would be this watch level for you? And if you go below that watch level, you would say this market is a sell or exit.
Oh, That is quite far away, Nikunj. I think the way the markets are, the kind of move that we have had over the last 3 months, while it's undeniable that 3 months without decent sized reaction can be considered a stretch. By no means can we say that the trend will get reversed. So we are, when you ask that question, I am taking it that what will be the level in the short term that we have to consider as that it is reversed. For that I would put it, the nearest I would put it is somewhere around 9150 on the futures. Now that's the most aggressive level that I can have. If you want to really take it a little more conservative than that, then the last futures low that was made was at about 9037. So you leave another 10 points as a filter from that and you see somewhere around 9020, 9025. If the futures were to break that, then you would have a pattern which would then initiate a slightly, let's say, a downward traction to the whole thing. So these are the two levels where I would think that the uptrend is halted for a while. But if you're asking me whether it will get reversed, the answer is still no.
Right, Mayuresh, before we wrap up, and we just have a couple of minutes to do so, just one final word on the positioning that one is seeing between L&T, Reliance Industries and Maruti, and Nikunj had highlighted this aspect earlier on in the show as well. All three big names, it's just that the value play is different for each one of them. Maruti having, of course, run its course beyond expectations. So how are you going to be positioning yourself and what are you recommending clients?
Now again, from the large cap names, all three is something that I've been liking for a length of time, and again the dynamics are different, as you rightly pointed out. I think the L&T story is entirely in terms of how the execution starts picking up, specifically on the E&C business and specifically on the domestic business. So the targets that they've set out over the next 5 years, doubling revenues, ROEs probably expanding from 12 to 18 odd %, getting the net working capital down to 18 odd %. And again, I think the loss-making businesses have been sold off, which is incrementally positive for L&T. So as execution improves and with the huge order book that I've got, incremental earnings can be substantial. Similarly for Maruti, I think the space that it is into, the volume degrowth that we've seen in the last 3 financial years, expecting decent pickup that has happened in this year to continue, and an encore probably happening over the next 2 years in terms of more products and variants coming through, aiding its volume growth. Gujarat plant is on stream, and that again will aid earnings, strong balance sheet in that regards as well. So largely I think all three companies is something that I am probably liking from the large cap space when the Nifty had corrected significantly, and largely investors holding on should hold on. Any significant decline onto the markets, I think these three stocks out of the large caps is something that I'll keep a close watch out for, and any decline that probably comes through over the next few weeks, a staggered way of entering these stocks is what I'll probably suggest long-term investors.
These three large cap names, each one has a different proposition. Whether it's good or bad, that's debatable, but you cannot compare an L&T with Reliance and a Reliance with Maruti, because Maruti, to put it very simple, bet on consumer discretionary spending. L&T, the reverse, you're betting on the revival in the investment cycle. And Reliance, I don't think Reliance is all about Jio. Frankly, Reliance for me is a behemoth, which is a play on global commodity prices. The fact that the capex is getting over, and 2 lakh crore of capital commitment. I'm not so sure what the numbers would be for FY18, because it's still a tall order for Reliance to keep the subscriber addition going, milk them, mine them. But Reliance in a sense,
is Jio not being seen as a proxy to consumerism?
I don't think so, Tanvir, because for Jio to really give a sizable uptick to Reliance, I think that uptick is at least 18 to 20 months away. That's my sense, and a lot of that Jio advantage, or a lot of that Jio story, I think currently is baked in Reliance as a stock. Now markets would wait for numbers, and for next 2 quarters it was refining, it is about petrochemical, it is about other income, and it is about global commodity prices.
Yes, indeed. And for the next 2 minutes, it's really about market close. Actually, just a minute left for that. Oil and marketing companies are your mainstay this afternoon. BPCL, IOC have done really well. Bharti Infratel is higher. TCS has run up. Some of the IT names have been performers in trade. Bajaj Auto, 28, 29, still holding forward after that big MS upgrade. That's lifted sentiment on Hero MotoCorp and Eicher Motors as well. Few gainers, but prominent gainers, losers, and it's largely about banks. Reliance Industries is now down 2%, touching a base of 1400, but that's pretty much become a base now for Reliance. 72 lakh shares traded on this one. ACC, ICICI Bank are some of the key other notable losers. Lupin, India Bulls Housing Finance, Adani Port, Sun Pharma, these are some of the other names which have lost ground in the session. As we wind up trade for today and for the week, Dhanalakshmi Bank has done well. There's BGR Energy, which is come up on the radar, 11% higher. Parsna Developers again moving stronger. Ansal Properties is 9.5%. So the real estate theme very much holds. Edelweiss Financial comes in among the top 10 gainers once again, 6.5%. It'd be interesting to bring up the weekly performance for Edelweiss Financial, because I think the move started very strongly around 150 odd and it's now 182 and counting for Edelweiss Financial. Max Financial Services have about 5.5%. India Bulls Ventures, TVS Motors giving company to Hero as well as Bajaj Auto doing well. NIT Tech, Phoenix Mills after the CPP IB investment looking good.
Well, not bad, frankly, not bad for the aggregate picture. The other theme which I want to mention, and Tanveen mentioned Edelweiss, but I like to throw in a IFL Holdings here. Also talk about Motilal Oswal Financials, AB Money, Aditya Birla Money. It's been cracker of a week for brokerages as well. They've just moved from strength to strength. Another big one today was Max Financials. Buzz that finally looks like decks are getting clear for that HDFC and Max Financial merger. Haven't picked up anything officially. I'm just mentioning the market buzz. But 637 rupees for Max Financials. HDFC Limited, however, closed at 1481. So net a good week, a decent week, a week where markets on a relative basis did much better. We were able to negotiate two events, which is the outcome of the, which is the minutes of the Fed meeting. Even though Fed talked about contracting their balance sheet, expansion is no longer the word. They are focusing on contraction. That did not disturb global markets and our markets. No one is bothered about limited money supply, at least in coming years. And then also from yesterday's local policy meeting, which is RBI monetary policy, nothing came out. But sometimes no news is good news in this kind of a market.
Okay, that's a market close and a market wrap for all our viewers tuning in. Let's go straight across to our technical guests and get a sense on how to approach the coming week. Dr. Narayan, what's your sense?
Well, we were looking for a dull drift down towards near 9200 on the futures. That was the opinion from yesterday through into today. And you may call it weekend square up considerations. You may call it, profit taking. You may call it, slight bearish bias, but whatever it is, the run of the trend many times is kind of inexorable. And we have moved down to that. We have had now about, let's say, a couple of sessions of down ticks. And that has to be seen in the context of about, let's say, 6 to 8 sessions of uptick. So possibly when we begin on Monday, if there's no news over the weekend, I think we'll continue to have a little bit of drag where the index will flirt with this 9200, maybe dip a little below it and induce a little bit of scare among weak holders, etc. Perhaps induce some shorts. So I think these are all, of course, conjectures of what may happen. But I think when the trend is on and a little uncertain, people's action becomes quite varied. And then you have a mix of people with shorts, people with who are out of the market, people with pending longs, and that's what creates a little bit of confusion from which a trend again will emerge. So I'm expecting that to happen by latest by Monday, and then the trend to reassert itself to the upside in the later part of next week.
Right, Siddharth, your own sense? Thanks, Dr. Narayan, for that.
So, Tanvi, this is an all-time high weekly closing for this market. That should say a lot. 60 points correction in Nifty, and still, you didn't close on a weekly low, despite you were consolidating. So it suggests that we should not get too much perturbed. And if I believe, and if there is no news on weekend pertaining to geopolitical tension, then I feel we would just move higher rather than thinking of going down. I wouldn't suggest position traders to take off their bets even if market is, say, 50-60 points further from current levels, which I feel it may not if there's no news on geopolitical front.
Pratish, what's your own perspective on the coming week of trade?
as I mentioned earlier, the Diamond 160 is a level I'll be eyeing on. It's a GAN number, and about that we have seen a number of closes about the same level. So I think it would be interesting to see how index behaves around this level. Also, as I said earlier, that the index is entering grinding period. We had a strong run, strong 7-8 days of trading session on the upside, and there's one take on the downside of 61 points. But it does not overall change the trend, the bullish trend that which we are in for the last couple of weeks now. So I believe that it's just a dip in the ongoing uptrend. This sideways corrective pattern could offer you opportunity for traders at lower levels.
Well, gentlemen, fantastic to have you on this edition of Closing Trades. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you with markets next week. Next week also it's a truncated weekend. This week it was a truncated weekend. But the fact that we've closed at the record high, we lost our way on Thursday, Friday, but we've closed at a record high. That just tells you the kind of underlying momentum of late we've enjoyed. A break. When we come back while it's Friday, and we'll tell you about some exciting things you can do the weekend in our By the Way segment.